Is Ryan Reynolds' new time traveling action movie, The Adam Project, a movie you should make time for? Let's find out. Hey everyone, this is David Starr from Watch Your Pass. Today I'm talking to you about The Adam Project, which is a new Ryan Reynolds time-traveling action film that is coming to Netflix on March 11th, 2022. It has an all-star cast of Ryan Reynolds, Mark Ruffalo, Jennifer Garner, Catherine Keener, and Zoe Saldaña. So my hot take is I actually think you should watch it. It's an entertaining action film with some light time travel elements and some pretty good effects. Plus, it has that Ryan Reynolds trademark balance of comedy and drama, and this movie does let him stretch his dramatic chops just a little bit, although it still is ultimately kind of an action comedy movie. So I'm going to tell you a little about the film, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and then go into the ending. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in this. If you don't want to know what happens, I would shut it off when I get to the ending discussion. I'll try to keep the spoilers to just the ending section so you can hear my thoughts, but definitely turn it off for the ending because you don't want to know what happens. So in The Adam Project, Ryan Reynolds plays Adam, who is an Air Force pilot from the future, from 2050, that comes back into 2018 to correct some wrong and try to fix something about the future. You've heard this story before, but this film does manage to keep the story fresh and entertaining with a few other elements, but you do kind of generally get a sense from other time traveling movies. So while he's in the past, Ryan Reynolds meets his younger self, helps him along, but always has to kind of stay cautious because what he does in the past, as you can imagine, has effects in the future. Now, the film has kind of a certain amount of drama because Ryan Reynolds is obviously fixing something from the past. It's got some humor because there's some interaction between future Adam and past Adam, and also with some of the other characters. That is a lot of fun. It does kind of keep the levity pretty high. And it has some action because, as you can imagine, when someone comes from the future to the past, that doesn't go unnoticed. And so some people from the future come back as well to try to stop him. So you get the action elements there as well. So like I said, I think you should definitely watch it. It's not like a perfect movie, but it's entertaining. It has plenty of fun elements. And so here are the things I liked about the movie. The first, like I've already mentioned, is the cast. The cast is great. You get an all-star cast, but really kind of the main draw and the main focus of this film is Ryan Reynolds. And I really liked how he was able to kind of hold the picture the entire time. Look, I'm a Ryan Reynolds fan. I will always watch a Ryan Reynolds movie. I think he's a really good actor. I think he's a lot of fun to watch. He's very funny. And this movie is no different. You get that kind of trademark wit with a little bit more drama because he is dealing with something that happened in his past, and he's trying to come to terms with it and try to correct it. So there is a little bit of drama when he is meeting with people he hasn't seen in a very long time, and there's some emotion there as well. The second thing I liked is the humor. This movie has a really good balance of humor and action, and it does keep the plot moving. It does keep the story entertaining. It's not like a very long movie, but the humorous parts keep the plot moving along and will make sure you smile even during some of the dramatic moments. And the last thing I liked is I'll call the time travel action. Like there is a certain amount of kind of tech focused action in this film that is fun to see. Ryan Reynolds' character has like a pretty futuristic weapon that he uses. You've got soldiers that are like coming in like from cloaking devices, so you'll see them come in. There's some futuristic weapons. So it's some fun technology-related action. And the nice thing about it being set in 2018 is that the effects aren't so over the top. I mean, there are some big effects, but for the most part, it's grounded in like a real-world experience with some tech elements thrown in here and there. So at least the action feels like a nice blend of kind of your more traditional fighting with some higher tech type situations. So things I did not like. I guess some of the later action, it does get a little bit over the top. I really liked the earlier stuff because it felt a little more grounded, even though you had some, time traveling soldiers, like that is not going to be grounded, but it did feel like it was more of a kind of hand-to-hand showdown with maybe a little bit of gunplay. Later on, it becomes a little more over the top as you get more people involved. And it just then, I think, goes into more of an effect spectacle. So the latter half of the movie's action is not as good as the first part, but it is still an entertaining film. The second thing I did not love is the body count. This is a weird one because it's an action movie, but you've got this added element here where Ryan Reynolds, where Adam is meeting up with his younger self. And so you would think there would be a certain amount of protection there, and he does try to protect him, but he also ends up killing a lot of people. I think he kills more people in this movie than Mike Myers killed in Halloween Kills. I mean, there's a lot of soldiers that are killed. They explain it away with like, oh, like when the soldiers are killed, they disappear. They like poof into time smoke. They explain it away with like, oh, death in the past is messy, but he's still killing these people. I think they could have done a better job by like saying they're robots. Say they're robots that came in the past, and so when you disrupt them, it disrupts their time field or something silly to make the body count lower, because it's I mean, look, it's an action movie, but it was a little shocking when you had him literally murdering like 20 people during the scene. And then also eventually young Adam gets involved too. So that was another thing. I was like, well, that seems like that would be probably scarring. So overall, I wish that they had done something to tone down the body count, or just explain it. I mean, it would have taken like a very small script tweak to make them into like robots or cyborgs, or even just say like, oh, if you disrupt their time travel suit, that's early tech. If you disrupt their time travel suit, then they get sent back to the future. So it's like something like that. I think they could have done a very small tweak to fix that. And the last thing I did not love is some of the technology. Like, it was fun on screen, but it didn't really make sense. I mean, you had Ryan Reynolds with like essentially a lightsaber type device. That wasn't a lightsaber, but it was kind of a lightsaber. And you had it would like project force sometimes, but then not, and it would cut sometimes, but then it would be blunt. It felt like a very convenient weapon. You also had some weapons where they would like only affect the bad guys and not affect the main characters. And I guess maybe his super saber was able to do like a force field too. Again, it felt like it wasn't really grounded much. Now, so, but look, it was a future movie. Maybe in the future, like, technology is a little more advanced. But again, it felt like this is a very convenient weapon. I wish that they would have maybe explained it better, or I don't know, had just a little bit more grounding. Like, I feel like just small tweaks could have fixed some of these things to me. So, like I said, some good, some bad, but overall, I enjoy it. Now I'm going to go into the ending. If you don't want to know what happens in the film, if you don't want to know anything about it, then turn this off now, because there will be spoilers. There will be massive spoilers. So what we find out is Ryan Reynolds plays Adam from the future. And so in the future, we have time travel. It's controlled by this corporation, Solano, who is headed by Catherine Keener. She's like the CEO of Solano. And it seems like it's kind of almost like a paramilitary corporation. They seem to have troops available. They seem to be kind of enforcing their time travel monopoly pretty well. And one of the people that was, I think, opposed to it was Adam's father, who we find out later is played by Mark Ruffalo, who invented the time travel. He invented the technology that allowed you to travel in the past. And he was killed at some point, so that Catherine Keener's character could control all of the technology and not have to kind of answer to anyone else. So Ryan Reynolds is kind of poking around his father's death, and his wife, who's played by Zoe Saldaña, was killed as well. So Ryan Reynolds, realizing that this whole time monopoly is not good, goes back in the past to essentially take out the technology, make sure it is never made. But in doing this, he encounters his younger self, who he needs to help power up his plane. That was another thing. The technology was a little sketchy there too, because like his plane was biometrically encoded, and so you could only have like his DNA start the plane up. But because he got hurt, his body was in flux or something, or his body wasn't strong enough to do it. But his younger self, who was perfectly healthy, could do it. That felt weird. Like, his DNA should be the same regardless. It doesn't really matter what his body is like. And also, like, I don't know, maybe you still need the plane to work even if your pilot is injured, because you still want to get them home. That just seemed like a weird situation. Anyways, so he needs his younger self to help with the plane so that then he can go back to take out the time technology before it started. So again, very complicated. Oh, also, while he's in 2018, he finds his wife, Zoe Saldaña. So she appeared to have been killed. Like, she seems like she was killed in the future, but actually, so she traveled back in the past with her ship, and there was a bomb planted on her ship. So when she came back in the past, the ship blew up. And so presumably she was dead, but actually she was still alive, and she just kind of bided her time, figuring that Ryan Reynolds would come back to look for her. And so when he did, I guess she was just kind of like stalking out his house. Maybe she was monitoring the time wave somehow. And so when he came back, she came back too to meet him. And she plays a big part. She helps kind of like get him out of a tight situation, and then also helps when he goes back into second past, super past, I guess. So now we have middle-aged Adam and young Adam in the past with, I guess, very young Adam. So they are going back. They find both of their dads. Their dad's played by Mark Ruffalo. He is a professor, a physicist, and they try to talk him out of his time technology. But he understands the implications of trying to change the past. So he's like, no, don't tell me anything. I don't want to know. So middle-aged Adam and young Adam go to the lab anyways to try to stop the time project. And while they're there, they get attacked by future soldiers. And this was the one where it was a little bit weird, because So Ryan Reynolds is essentially like taking on all these soldiers with his Darth Maul lightsaber that can, stab things and also has a force field and also can blunt damage people, but can also cut. It's a very, very versatile weapon. But during this time, he gets young Adam to put on like a VR headset and like VR gloves and use a drone to also give Overwatch and take out some of the guards. So this was when I was like, I mean, like he is playing a video game, but he's still killing these people. So that doesn't seem good. And it was not the most exciting to see like a kid in VR controlling a drone as part of an action scene. Again, it was fine. It was just a little over the top. It felt a little bit much. I still enjoyed the movie. After they take out most of the people, there's one soldier who's about to attack Adam, and Mark Ruffalo comes barreling in his car, boom, hits the soldier, stops him. Middle-aged Adam is safe. Mark Ruffalo's there. He came to help. Also, now Mark Ruffalo has a body count. So everyone kills people in this movie. They go in the lab, they open it up, they're trying to shut down the device, and they pull out the hard drive. Apparently, without the hard drive, this machine doesn't work. Sketchy reasoning, because with technology, if you don't invent it, someone else will. So they can stop this one. Eventually, they're going to have time travel. They should probably have figured out a way to regulate it more and lock it down more rather than destroy it. Again, it's fine. So they pull out the hard drive, turn off the accelerator. Everything's fine. They're going to destroy the hard drive, and you're never going to have time travel, or so they say. But what happens then is Catherine Keener shows up. Future Catherine Keener and present Catherine Keener show up with young Adam as a hostage, and they try to demand for middle-aged Adam to hand over the hard drives using young Adam as bait, because if they kill young Adam, middle-aged Adam goes away. That's kind of how this weird time works. So they're trying to use that as leverage. But middle-aged Adam knows that they're dead anyway, so he doesn't really want to give in. So he kind of winks at young Adam, and young Adam then pushes the gun away. Older future Catherine Keener fires a shot on accident. It hits the accelerator, and then we have an unstable reaction that starts kind of pulling in all the metal. It starts with like the buttons on middle-aged Adam's jacket, and other pieces of metal are all pulled into this growingly unstable situation. Now, this was also a weird one because a lot of metal went, a lot of the soldiers went, but their suits didn't go and their guns didn't go. I guess maybe they have some sort of like alloy in there that doesn't get magnetized. I guess we'll go with that. Their guns probably should have been pulled in. The soldiers probably should have been pulled in. But there's a big fight that occurs. So that also during that crazy fight after hit the gun away, young Adam gets the lightsaber and becomes like this fighting person. He has like a cool scene where he like uses the lightsaber to shoot up and like land, and it has a funny reference because he goes like, he lands and he goes like superhero landing, which I think was in a Deadpool reference, but it's definitely at least a comic book movie reference. So I thought that was fun. But again, it's like this kid is now like this drone pilot and also now is using the lightsaber. He doesn't do a great job, but it did feel a little bit much. Anyways, so eventually present Catherine Keener has the gun pointed at Mark Ruffalo with future Catherine Keener next to her, and then young Adam and middle-aged Adam are behind Mark Ruffalo. And she says, hand it over, like, this is my project. I paid for this. Like, you can't just take this away from me. And Mark Ruffalo's like, no, like, we had protocols, like, we had, reasons. And also, this is not you. Like, you're not a killer yet. You don't have to do this. She seems hesitant. Past Catherine Keener seems hesitant. So then future Catherine Keener kind of pushes her over, pushes her to the side, takes the gun, then looks at Mark Ruffalo and says, that's the problem with you. You never understood the bigger picture. And then she fires the gun. But the bullet is metal, and so it goes out and then curves and hits past Catherine Keener on its way into the reactor. So past Catherine Keener dies, and Mark Ruffalo says, that's the problem with you. You never understood the science because the bullet was magnetized. So when they fired it, it went right into that giant electromagnet that is growing and becoming unstable. And then future Catherine Keener poofs into time smoke. Again, you think that that gun probably, if it has bullets in it that are magnetized, that gun would have gone up earlier. It's okay. It's an action movie. It's fun. It's enjoyable. Just enjoy it. Now you have Mark Ruffalo and both Adams in a reactor that's getting unstable. I imagine there's probably some sort of radiation happening here. It's probably not good for anyone, but they seem to be okay. They run to the exit. They jump out right as everything's closing, and they make it out no problem. So they all go back home, and they're like, Mark Ruffalo's like, I thought you would have like disappeared by now. Like time travel was destroyed. And like, yeah, it probably takes a while for the time stream to fix itself. Even though when young Catherine Keener was killed, instantly future Catherine Keener was killed. Again, it's fun. So they're home, and they try to tell Mark Ruffalo like what happens. He's like, no, I don't want to know. Like, I'm sorry, I can't be there for you later, but I'm not going to change time. Like, I don't want to do that. I can't do that to the time stream. So they don't tell him, and they eventually just go out and play catch, just spend some time with each other. And eventually there's a throw that goes awry. Mark Ruffalo goes to get it, he turns around, and both Adams are gone. So now we are back in young Adams time. And it's the first day, like one of the first days that we saw with him. The day is happening, and he's talking to his mom. He's being a little smart aleck because he is kind of a smart aleck character. But before he leaves for school, he gives her a big hug because that's what middle-aged Adam asked him to do. And also middle-aged Adam helped to kind of show him how much his mom is doing for him. That's a nice scene. It's a very pretty scene. Everything seems to be okay. Fast forward to, I guess now 2050. This is the present time. And you see some sort of like lecture with this like futuristic type subject. And you see Ryan Reynolds in class. And while he's there, Zoe Saldaña comes in as well. She sits down next to him. They banter for a little bit. He does his Ryan Reynolds stuff. So they joke around for a little bit. He finds out that she's a guest lecturer. And he says, in what? And she said, I think it was like computational linguistics. It was something that was not physics. And he's like, oh, you're in the wrong class. It's like, this is, and they find out that she's actually in the wrong campus. So she says, then I'm lost. And Ryan Reynolds says, not anymore. I found you, because now he has refound his wife. Because remember, when they destroyed time, that means that Ryan Reynolds and his wife never met. They met in the academy when they were both kind of training to be time soldiers. And so now that they're not doing time travel, they would have never met. But Ryan Reynolds remembers all this. So he tracked her down, I guess, and arranged this nice situation where he could finally meet her. So they finally meet. He says, now I found you. And he says, I can walk you over to that campus. And she's like, are you sure? Like, I don't want to take you away from this lecture. And he's like, I got plenty of time. So there you go. Time again is referenced in the film. And that's the Adam Project. Like I said, it is enjoyable. It is an entertaining action movie. Some of the science doesn't really add up. There's a couple other things like, Mark Ruffalo has now destroyed a lab, had an accident that at least killed his boss or his benefactor, and destroyed this scientific equipment. There's probably going to be some sort of investigation in there. I don't really know what's going to happen. Also, that reactor was probably spitting out radiation like crazy after it was breached. So that probably isn't good for anyone. But so turn your brain off, enjoy the movie. It's a good way to pass an hour and a half. You get some comedy, you get some action, you get some heart. And it's just fun. It's just a fun experience. So that's the Adam Project. It's coming to Netflix on March 11th, 2022. So you can check it out in the comfort of your own home. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. And please check out my other content. I've got other reviews, interviews, unboxing videos, and recommendations. Thank you.